Hey, good morning. Happy Groundhog Day. Today's the day when we find out whether we have 6 more weeks of winter or spring is just around the corner. And let's hope that he gives us some news today. I want to tell you a little bit about Groundhog Day. Of course, it's always on February 2nd. And I don't know if you guys know anything about groundhogs, but we'll talk about some facts about groundhogs too. People wake up to a cloudy morning and they are happy the sun is shining. Winter may be over soon. It is Groundhog Day. What is Groundhog Day? A groundhog can forecast the weather on Groundhog Day. 6 more weeks of winter will come if it sees its shadow. Spring is near if he does not see his shadow. So let's hope he doesn't see his shadow today. Who celebrates Groundhog Day? Well, here in the United States, we celebrate, and so does Canada. They have a tradition of celebrating Groundhog Day as well. Groundhog Day came from the Christian holiday called Candlemas. Sunshine on this holiday meant a longer winter. People also used animals that hibernate to tell the weather on this day. This is a brown bear. German immigrants brought the tradition to the United States. They decided to use a groundhog. The first official Groundhog Day took place in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania in 1887. And that's why they call him Punxsutawney Phil. Every year on February 2nd. Some places make a big deal out of it and have this big to-do with a parade, and the kids get involved and make drawings and crafts, and then they bring out the groundhog to see if he sees his shadow. So with that, I am going to read you a book with some facts about groundhogs. And this book is published by Bellwether Media. Groundhogs also are funny. You know, they do funny things like the way they eat are funny and the way they move. And, you know, they're large rodents, but they're also called woodchucks. They live underground in burrows. They dig these homes in forests out in the field. So you can see how they try to get under rocks or logs or something like that. Groundhogs use their strong legs and sharp claws to dig. They can dig 5 feet down. 5 feet. Groundhogs pull plants out of the ground to eat. They'll also eat fruit and bark. And you can do your research on that about what kind of fruit they eat. Help Mom Google that. Let Mom help you to Google that and find out. They gnaw on their food, and this wears their teeth down. They have long teeth. And when they gnaw on the bark or wood, that helps to wear their teeth down. Groundhogs eat a lot before winter comes. Then they hibernate with a full belly. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? Groundhogs groom their thick fur outside their burrows, and they also enjoy relaxing in the sun. They must watch out for wolves, coyotes, and hawks. These animals are their predators. Can be dangerous. Stay in your burrow, groundhog. They whistle when they see danger, and this warns other groundhogs to hurry and get inside their burrow. Hide! So, if you go outside to play, by a lake or a pond, you may see them. They like to get near the water and get in a burrow where they can actually come out and get drinks. They're interesting. My next book is Go to Sleep Groundhog. This is by Judy Cox, illustrated by Paul Meisel. And it is published by Holiday House. Groundhog went to bed on Columbus Day, just like he always did. He brushed his teeth. He put on his jammies. He set his clock for February 2nd, and then he curled up in his warm, cozy bed. He closed his eyes, and he tossed and turned, but he couldn't get to sleep. So finally he got out of bed. He looked at his clock. 1/2 October. Groundhog poked his nose outside his burrow. The moon was full. "I'll just go for a little walk," he said. "Maybe that will make me sleepy." Groundhog went outside. He saw things he'd never seen before. Raggedy scarecrows and grinning jack-o'-lanterns, children dressed up like pirates, cowboys, and princesses. Halloween witch flew down. "What are you doing up?" she said. "It's almost winter. You should be in bed." Witch flew Groundhog home on her broomstick, and she tucked him in, and she read him a ghost story. She even gave him a glass of apple cider. What a nice witch. Groundhog curled up in his warm, cozy bed. He closed his eyes. He tossed and turned, but he couldn't get to sleep. Finally, he got out of bed. He looked at his clock. 1/2 November. He poked his nose outside his burrow. The leaves were red and yellow. "I'll just go for a little walk," he said. "Maybe that will make me sleepy." Groundhog went outside. He saw things he'd never seen before. Tall yellow corn shocks and round orange pumpkins. Turkeys gobbling in the barnyard. Gobble, gobble. "What are you doing up?" Turkey said. "It's almost winter. You should be in bed, and I should be making myself scarce." Turkey took Groundhog home. He tucked him in, he read him a story about pilgrims, and he gave him a big slice of pumpkin pie. Groundhog curled up in his warm, cozy bed. He closed his eyes, and he tossed and he turned again, but he couldn't get to sleep. Finally, he got out of bed, and he looked at his clock. 1/2 December. Groundhog poked his nose outside his burrow. Stars twinkled overhead. "I'll just go for a little walk," he said. "Maybe that will make me sleepy." Groundhog went outside. He saw things he'd never seen before. Colored lights glowing on houses, candles shining in windows, holly wreaths hanging on doors, and he even heard sleigh bells chiming in the air. Santa flew down in his sleigh. "What are you doing up?" Santa said. "It's winter. You should be in bed." Santa took Groundhog home in his sleigh. He tucked him in, he read him a Christmas story, and he gave him a big glass of milk and a cookie. Groundhog curled up in his warm, cozy bed. He closed his eyes. He didn't toss, and he didn't turn. And soon he fell asleep. Bring! Groundhog opened one eye. "It can't be time to get up," he grumbled. "I just got to sleep." Bring! He peered at his clock. February 2nd. Groundhog yawned, then he stretched, and he tumbled out of his burrow. Snow glittered on the ground. The sun was out, and the sky was blue. Groundhog saw his shadow. "What am I doing up?" he said. "There is 6 more weeks of winter coming. I should be in bed." He hurried back inside. He ate a bedtime snack, he read himself a bedtime story, and then he tucked himself into his warm, cozy bed. And he pulled up the covers and closed his eyes and went to sleep. Okay, so now I'm going to read 10 Grouchy Groundhogs. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the author of this book is Kathryn Heling and Deborah Hembrook, illustrated by J. Johnson, published by Scholastic. 10 Grouchy Groundhogs crowded in their den. They squirmed and they stretched, and then one Grouchy Groundhog announced with a shout, "This den is too small. Let me out, out, out." Nine grubby groundhogs working in their den. They clawed and they dug, and then one grubby groundhog announced with a shout, "I gotta have a bath. Let me out, out, out." Eight graceful groundhogs dancing in their den. They swooped and they swirled, and then one graceful groundhog announced with a shout, "Dancing makes me dizzy. Let me out, out, out." Seven gabby groundhogs chatting in their den. They gibbered and they jabbered, and then one gabby groundhog announced with a shout, "Give me peace and quiet. Let me out." Six goofy groundhogs tumbling in their den. They rolled and they romped, and then one goofy groundhog announced with the shout, "I'm too tired from tumbling. Let me out." Five goofy groundhogs singing in their den. They hummed and they strummed, and then one groovy groundhog announced with a shout, "Hey, I'm a rock star. Let me out." Four gobbling groundhogs dining in their den. They chomped and they chewed, and then one gobbling groundhog announced with a shout, "I have a toothache. Let me out." Three glitzy groundhogs grooming in their den. They primped and they puffed, and then one glitzy groundhog announced with a shout, "Powder makes me sneeze. Let me out." Two giggly groundhogs running around their den, sliding down the tunnels, and then one giggly groundhog announced with the shout, "Winter might be over. Let me out." One grumpy groundhog wondered with a pout, "Where are all my friends? Time to go find out." When one grumpy groundhog glanced outside his den, he counted all the groundhogs, not one or two, but 10. 10 timid groundhogs looked around and then, startled by their shadows, dived back down again. They all saw their shadows. 10 grinning groundhogs, grouchy no more, snug in their den, snore, snore, snore. Good night, groundhogs.